Okay, so welcome guys to the live stream. I hope you're doing okay today. Uh, I'm not gonna check too much the chat because Bitcoin is doing something very, very interesting, obviously. So I'm gonna just be explaining to you what we're gonna be looking at today. Basically, most of our live stream is going to be regarding the micro, the macro for Bitcoin. Obviously, some altcoins that you want to request basically. And maybe we're gonna look at we will look at the SPX 500 and the DXY and gold at the same time because they're all correlated, these markets together. So yeah, I'm gonna start with Bitcoin because it's doing what's something very, very interesting in the market right now. It hasn't been moving at all since maybe August this year. So around 2 3 months of basically just consolidation and just manipulation for traders. But yeah, let's get started with the charts and let's talk about the micro first. Then we go to the macro later because the micro now is more important. So first of all, a couple of things to note. Excuse my alerts, by the way. There's a lot of alerts because there's a lot of things that need to be a lot of levels that are very, very important. So first of all, uh, Bitcoin as of now still hasn't lost any type of bullish structure, but there is something that is happening here that is very similar to something that happened in the past as well. Hence, my bearish outlook on the market from a macro perspective from a micro perspective. Okay, now from a micro, we'll get to the macro later, but it will all make sense as we talk about it. From a micro perspective, we need to look at two things basically, the positives and the negatives. That's basically it. Uh, Bullish positives, bearish negatives. Okay, so from a bullish perspective on the micro, as I said, the bullish structure still hasn't been lost. We still haven't made a lower low for Bitcoin. We're consolidating heavily around this area right here. So this is our support area. And currently, we are forming higher highs and most likely higher lows, right? We broke the previous high, even though it wasn't really a real break, which we'll talk about in a second as well. But the market has been moving bullishly since basically August, which is great. Not to mention that the higher time frames, like the weekly and the 3 day, as I've mentioned on Twitter earlier, are bullish in nature. They're not bearish. So what's the bearish then? The bearish is very simple. The channel that we're moving in, which I posted I think a couple of days ago when Bitcoin was around this area, this channel, or I think it was last week when we did the YouTube update as well. So this channel is actually bearish in nature. Now again, not all of the time, but most of the time, these upward channels tend to break to the downside rather than the upside. So that's number one on a micro perspective. Number two, we are still bearish under the 3 day EMAs, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm gonna flip to the 3 day chart here and just show you. So the 3 day EMAs, as of now, still are very, very bearish. They still haven't crossed bullish at all, right? And these tend to do a lot of fake outs. EMAs like to do a lot of fake outs. Now, obviously, the bigger the time frame, the less or the least likely the fake out. Regardless, it is something to be cautious of. So that's number two. So basically, other than that, right now, and obviously number three for me is just the breakout itself. So just to give you a small example of what I mean here. So for example, this is a bullish breakout. This is a bullish breakout. Uh, where do we have? This is another bullish breakout. So as you can see, the bullish breakouts are very, very easy to spot. This was a perfect example of a bullish breakout. And even though this and where we are right now look very similar, and I'm going to be explaining why. This is very, very important, by the way. So keep eyes on this and remember this because we're going to talk about it in a second. So even though they're very similar to what we're seeing, right, there's a big, big difference between what's happening here and what's happening here. And basically the difference is that the move up from 29 up to 42, which broke the previous high, right? which also rejected on the previous high. So basically, you reached the previous high, you broke above it, and then you fell through. You didn't really hold it as support. Similar here, you did the same exact thing where basically you moved up, broke the previous high, but fell through, and you couldn't really hold it as support. But the big difference between this and this is basically this was a huge breakout move, as you can see, followed by volume candles, so successively larger and larger greenish candles with big bodies. And volume was very, very, it was there basically in the breakout. Whereas where we are right now, it's a little bit opposite than that. So the breakout is kind of slow. We're moving kind of slowly up and down in wave motions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's not something to be bullish on a macro perspective. All right. So from a micro perspective, yeah, you're bullish. You're definitely bullish. But from a macro perspective, we're not doing something like this. We're not doing something like this. So it's very, very scary, right? Even the fake outs that happened, we're stronger than the one that we're having right now. All right. So this is something that looks similar to this, by the way, just to give you an example. So here, for example, we're making higher highs, right? Higher lows, bullish structure, even though it's a bearish flag, but it is a bullish structure in itself, right? And it is, slowly bullish. There's no momentum, there's no volume, and then finally, obviously, the structure reached its peak, and then you dropped. And this is what's happening right here. Something very, very similar to this, right? Where you're moving up and down, forming some type of bear flag, and just losing power. Now, from a micro perspective, like I said, we are currently bullish as long as we are maintained in this parallel channel, as long as we don't lose support, which is probably the next area to long for on a micro. We're good to go for one more leg up. And logically speaking and technically speaking, from a trading perspective, there should be one more leg up because there should be more liquidations of, there should be more short squeezes. So when Bitcoin is around, let's say 28.9, this is resistance. You look left, supply and demand zone. Let's short it here, and then you get a small squeeze up, slightly smaller squeeze. And I talked about this before, that there's a very, very high chance for this structure to do a triple top formation or a head and shoulder formation, with this left shoulder being at 31, this one being at 31.8, and this one being at 31 or 38 or whatever. And there's also another bear structure that can be formed, which is a triple top formation. So this is another bear structure, as you may all know. And the last basically is a lower high, which is very similar to what Bitcoin did here. And this is where I'm going to be talking about the macro. So as you can see here, there's a lot of similarities between what happened here and what's happening right here. Right? So you have a double top formation. You have the second top that is larger than the first top by a bit, by around, let's say 5% or maybe less than that. Yeah, 5% or so. And you have the same idea here. You have another top that is larger than the first top by 3.41%. And then and then not only that, you fell down after the second top. You fell down onto the supply and demand zone, right? The previous supply and demand zone. So this was your previous supply and demand zone right here. And then price fell to that exact previous supply and demand zone, which is right here. And similar to what happened here, because here, believe it or not, obviously you had a double top, you have a previous supply zone, you have a second top, and then you have a fall, right? And then when you fell, you bounced where? On the previous supply zone. Similar to what's happening here. And then you start moving up, similar to what's happening here. Now, obviously here, the rally, it is considered kind of weak. If we can take our fib extensions from the top to the bottom of the drop, you can see that Bitcoin kind of just peaked at the 0.382, rejecting at the small supply zone, which is right here, supply and demand zone, and then it fell through. And if we do that right here, just to compare, I'm not saying it's going to happen exactly the same, right? But patterns in charts tend to happen a lot because it's just human behavior repeating itself in the chart. So sometimes doing this can make you, a great trade. So basically here, a little bit more than there. But the reason of why Bitcoin is moving higher, so in the previous example, it moved to the 0.382, but in this example, it kind of wicked at the 0.5. And the reason being is that here, the closest supply and demand zone, or the heaviest resistance, was right there. So this is your supply and demand zone, right? It wasn't here on the top, it was right here. So that's where it rejected. And if you take the same logic with this and you apply it to where you are right now, then you would assume that this is the area of interest for your supply and demand zone, right? Around that area, give or take. So this is where your strong resistance is at. And this is where we really need to be cautious. If you see Bitcoin at this area, I mean, right now, from a micro perspective, I'm trying to look for longs. Obviously, if I'm gonna long, I'm gonna long on my specific areas. Every trader has different types of charts, and everybody trades and charts in a different way. My personal support zones are here. These are it. They have a yellow line, the blue region right here, and the green region right here. They were previous support areas, as you can see. We broke above them, and now we're going for a retest. Depending on the structure here, depending on the indicators here, I will either choose to long or not. Now, if we do for some reason lose this area, which is around 26.6 to 26.7, that region right there. Again, I'm not going to say it's the end of the world for Bitcoin. On a macro perspective, we are, macro bearish, but you can expect more liquidations to the downside. Probably reach the blue zone once more, right? And then maybe pop out, maybe lose it. It all will depend on the indicators. But again, it's level by level, area by area. You lose this, you go here. You lose that, you go here. Simple as that. And there's where your stop loss comes in to protect your trade and try to enter another trade, or maybe take a opposite trade, short the short when it's coming, or long the long when it's coming. So that is my outlook on a micro perspective. Right now, from an indicator perspective, I still don't see any type of stoppage to the downside. I mean, the drop isn't that strong, but the pump isn't that strong either as well. So I'm assuming right now we will have to wait till Thursday-ish, Friday-ish, we will know for sure. Another thing to note on a micro perspective is that obviously, in my channel at least, we have rejections on the heartline of the channel, which is very typical, of a channel formation. You go to the top, you go to the bottom, and the heartline is usually resistance and support depending on whether you're above it or below it. So for example, here, support, 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 now resistance, resistance, resistance. If we do a move like this, currently where we are, which I don't think will be the case, the structure here is very, very different than the structure here. But if we, for some reason, do a move like this, I would assume by Friday you get your super drop, or, maybe around end of Friday. If not, you probably get it sooner than maybe by tomorrow or the next 24 hours. You have a small double top formation here. All we need is just the loss of this area right here, which is, you can see my alerts clearly there at 27.3, 27.2 region. I think from my perspective, let me just check here the 4-hour candle closes just to see if everything's good. Yeah, from my perspective now, if we get a 4-hour candle close sub 27.250 for Bitcoin, then you can expect us to go to this area right here, to this region, right? Hopefully we hold the top area of the region. That's what I would like for a more bullish move, similar to what happened here. For example, we dropped and we bounced exactly at the top of the bluish region, but that's not to say that we cannot go to the bottom and it will be perfectly fine, still within the bullish realm, right? We only become bearish if we lose this, and we lose this by a lot. So let's say we close sub 26.4, 26.3, then we're heading once more here, which is probably going to be the 25K area once more, high 25Ks. And then after that, obviously, we lose that, we go to the lower end. It's as simple as that, all right? So from a micro perspective, I'd say let's wait till Friday. I'm still expecting more downside. It's very weird, by the way, this move. I've been charting Bitcoin for quite some time right now, and I can tell you one thing from my perspective is that this year is the year of change. There's a lot of change in microstructure. There's a lot of change in the movement of Bitcoin. There's still some things that are never changed, but there's a lot of manipulation happening, definitely. A drop like this should be followed by at least, a small short squeeze, towards the top, but it hasn't. So we will just have to wait till end of Friday. But like I said, from my personal perspective, it's down, and I'm gonna leave you with this. This is what I think, right? At least from now till Friday. Now, from a macro perspective, it gets a little bit more complicated. And here's where we're going to be talking about, the different markets, the DXY, the S&P 500. But before we go to those markets, we will try our best to analyze, SPX, DXY. But first, Bitcoin chart, definitely Bitcoin chart. So from a macro perspective on the Bitcoin chart, I'm assuming and I'm seeing what's usually happening. Obviously, you have this parallel channel, which you have the top of the channel was, as you can see, resistance, support, support. The lower end of the channel is support, support, support. And Bitcoin got rejected at the heart line of this channel. And this is looking like a really normal, 1-2 formation, right? And I've talked about this in my previous videos, and I still believe that this is still a wave 1, and I still believe that currently we are retracing in a wave 2. On higher time frames, we are retracing in a wave 2. On a macro perspective, I still believe these upcoming months, October, November, should be bullish in nature. They shouldn't be bearish. Like I said, hopefully forming some type of triple top formation, head and shoulder, or even 40K. But 40K is only if we flip 31 on the weekly. There's no way we go here. Impossible in my personal opinion, unless we break this region, this 31K region, and flip it as support on the weekly. So once we get a weekly candle close above it, nice and bullish candle with a retested support, holding it as support, that's when you see 40K. Personally, I don't think we see it from now to the end of the year. I think probably we see the lower end first, and maybe a little bit lower, probably failing to hold a channel, so something similar to 2019, and then we start moving up. What's happening right now on the weekly, or what's happening right now on the daily time frame, is just basically the weekly time frame being bullish. That's basically it. Nothing else. This is what's happening on it. And this bullishness that is happening on the weekly time frame, which still isn't over, by the way, I believe it will be over by around, I would say end of November. That's when we really stop. But from now to end of November, I'm expecting the bulls to be more dominant than the bears, right? And as long as Bitcoin doesn't lose that 25K area, that will be the case. Once you lose that 25K area, then we start to talk in another different scenario for sure. Now, from our long-term outlook, this move to the downside, and then hopefully the resumption of the bull run later, correlates as well with the traditional markets, right? So we're gonna go to let's go to the S&P 500 first. And the S&P 500, I mentioned, I think, March 21st, if I'm not mistaken. February 6th, 2023. I think a lot of people were bearish here, crash market, whatever. And I said that the S&P on the monthly is in a bullish uptrend, but on the 12-month time frame, it's a bearish. This also gives more validation to my bull trap, prolonged bear market, expecting a double top to be forming this year, with the second top being higher than the first top. And this was what's happening with, the S&P. Since then, the S&P has moved towards this area, which is around 4602. If for my prediction to come true, it should move at least another 8% from that high. And as long as we hold this green line, which is clear support right here, as you can see, we should be good for one more push up before end of year and then a drop. And this will obviously correlate with BTC as well. So that's why I'm just trying to combine the different things that I see in the charts to come up with one general prediction that makes sense, that makes logic. So each chart needs to explain the next chart. And when all of the charts come together and they make sense together, that's when you get your best prediction. And if we go to the DXY as well, so I drew this channel a couple of months ago, I think at the beginning of the year, and this is my expectation for the DXY. The DXY is still in an uptrend. I still believe that it will reach this high. As you can see, I've placed it there at 121, maybe not following the exact fractal, but most likely reaching this high again, which is around 120. And then after that, you have your super drop, right? And this also helps validate the whole idea that the stock markets and the traditional markets are going to follow as well with this drop. So there's going to be a very with this pump, sorry, to the upside. So there's going to be a very strong crash in my personal opinion. Not only myself, other economists also believe that as well. They call it the three times stock crash. So I think everybody needs to be just well prepared for this as we move forward. But for me personally, the DXY, if I just take a quick look on the indicators, yeah, the monthly is still bullish, and the 12-month is going for another divergence, which is definitely what's going to happen here. In my humble opinion, obviously, this is not financial advice. This is just my opinion. You're not obliged to take it seriously. You can do whatever you want with it. Let me just check the S&P 500 once more because I didn't check the indicators, just to check that everything's still going accordingly, because for the DXY everything's still going as is. For the S&P 500, let's see here. The 12-month is still bearish. That's definitely for sure. So this, you can see the arrow that was here, bearish 12 months, and it's still bearish. The monthly is starting to look very bearish as well. So we're nearing the point of no return. So let me just explain to you. The monthly for me has just crossed bearish. We got a rejection here on the MACD as well, as you can see. Let me pop it up for you, as you can see here. So if this crossed bullish, all of my prediction goes to the trash bag, but it didn't cross bullish. It crossed bearish. So with the rejection, and the other indicators are signaling downside as well. So the only way my prediction works out fully at 100%, which is basically with that 8% pop and then a super drop, is if the weekly time frame turns bullish before end of year. And that will give you that pop-up and then a drop to the bottom. That's basically it. And that will basically obviously correlate with this green line holding as well as support. You hold it as support, you're great. You don't hold it as support, my prediction is just 90% correct rather than 100% correct, because it probably just means that you start falling from here. And then it just probably means that that's your, A wave, your B wave, and then you have your C wave. And if that's the case, let's just check for fun. Well, this is too high to be a B wave, but still considered within the realms of being a B wave. So let's see C wave then. Let's see. C wave, it could go anywhere conservative. So the bullish C wave will be towards the 618. So basically making a higher low, higher than this low. That's the bullish one, right? Everything below starts to become slightly bearish. So basically the S&P can go all the way down to the 1618. Which is basically your 50% correction. You can see it right here. All right. Or it could go to the 1, which is still, a heavy correction. So we're talking about, so if we go to a bullish correction, it's around a 20% drop, which is going to destroy a lot of things, including crypto. If we go to the 1, it's around a 30% drop, which is also very bad. It's a lower low. So if you go to the 1, it's, it's the same as going as the 1618. It's no big difference. Or you go to the 1618 and then you get a 47% crash. So it's either A, B, or C, and we will have to wait and see if this prediction will come true or not for the S&P. So let's go back to Bitcoin, and I'm gonna go to the micro time frames just to check it out. So that is it for my prediction for BTC, guys. I think nothing has changed in my personal opinion. From a micro perspective, we're kind of bullish in these upcoming 2 months. But from a midterm macro perspective, I still think bearish, and I still think the lows are going to be reached near 20K area, maybe less than that. The only way this whole prediction gets invalidated is if you flip 31K as support on the macro time frame. If you don't flip 31K as support, no way anything happens for Bitcoin and for the Bitcoin bulls out there. And from a micro perspective, as long as you're holding this support green line right here, this region and this parallel channel, you're good to go. If you don't hold it as support, you lose it, then most likely you'll head down. And I don't think, again, if you do head down, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. I just probably think that this is probably just a one on another stronger, deeper retracement for a wave two. So I'll probably go towards, I don't know, 25 or maybe even lower. And then finally you get your bullish 2 month between October and November. And then you get your crash in December. I'm going to be looking at some requests that I have. One of them is from a friend of mine who wants me to analyze gold and silver, but I'm gonna check gold fast here. Just let me check the chat first, if there's anything going on. Okay, show us zoom and chart, can't figure out levels clearly. Tell me what levels are you talking about, and I'll probably show them to you. So no max pain areas. I thought that was expected around June, or has that? Yeah. So basically, I was expecting max pain areas to be reached because of the bullish structure. Unfortunately, if you can see from my chart, before I go to gold, 1 second. We only dipped, dipped below them. Now we still can reach them. As I said on Twitter, you have your weekly EMAs here, the 18 and 30 EMA, and you have these 2 weekly months, right, that are coming up. We still haven't crossed bearish on the weekly EMAs. You still have 2 weekly months, even though, like I said, everything's looking very, very bearish right now on a long term rather than the short term. But if we are able to flip 31K in these upcoming 2 months between October and November, then yeah, sure, we could reach that. And by then, I don't think there'll be cold max pain areas anymore. You're going to be bullish. You're going to be entering a bull run, basically, because you broke 30K. But obviously, you're going to have a very strong retracement to the bottom if that happens. Like I said, unfortunately, the move that was supposed to take us to the max pain areas did a double top. The first one was a fail, the second one was a fail, and now the third one, from my personal opinion and from the indicators what they're showing currently, is most likely going to be a fail. You have to understand, charts are basically data given to you. Like any job, like anything in the world, you get data to analyze. The data that you get today from a chart is not going to be the same as the data that you get in, let's say, 10 days from now or 3 days from now. If it were that easy, then one prediction is going to run whole year long. So basically Bitcoin to 100 and that's it. But unfortunately, that's not how trading works, and that's not how data in the chart works, at least for crypto. So we need to adjust. As I said, this year the markets were very, very tough from a trading perspective. The patterns themselves, the charts, the structures that the market is showing are very different than previous markets and the previous structures in previous times for Bitcoin and from other alts as well. So we need to adjust to that. Now, if anything changes, obviously, in the charts, I will update again. But as of today, October 4th, 2023, 10 p.m. my time, I think the data shows that we are more bearish than bullish and most likely not going to tap the 40K region. Most likely. But, the data could be wrong and we just flip 31K as support and you're done. Now, from my personal opinion, since all the way back here, let me just pull up something for you guys. I think if I do this and I do that, yeah. So from all the way it's even before that, right? So, I don't have bias to my feelings. I have bias to the chart. At the point, I was super bullish, urging people to buy and predicting a pump in January, February. And that's very true if you go to my Twitter profile. Now I'm urging people to see the looming warning signs confirming a bull rally and a prolonged bear market. And unlike Crypto Capo, I think his name is, I never said that we're going to stop here, we're going to stop here, and we're going to stop here. I was just clearly saying that we're going to revisit the 28-30K area, and that's where you get cautious. And when we revisited the 28-30K area, the indicators still showed more upside. So we revisited here, we got rejected, and I was still bullish. And then another pump happened, but unfortunately, that double pump wasn't really enough to take us to the max pain areas. We just went to the 28-32K region that I talked about, obviously, in my Twitter as well. And then here we are, basically. All right. If I'll take one more question if there's any. Let me see here. I saw your 8-year bear market video. Do you still think that will happen? Well, this is a good question. Thank you for asking, by the way. How can I put this in a simple way so you guys can understand? Okay, so it's 8-year bear market is based on perspective. So before I answer your question about the 8-year bear market, my question to you is, what is your perspective of an 8-year bear market? What do you think an 8-year bear market looks like? Because you have to understand, a bear market for you, by definition, may be different from a bear market for me, by definition. And just to give you a small idea, a bear market for me means no all-time highs. That's what a bear market for me means. No all-time highs for at least a long period of time. The bull market ended in 2021. We're almost 2024. So we are already 3 years in a bear market, right? So for my prediction to come true, you need around 4 or 5 more years, basically, right? But just to give you an idea, for me, a bear market doesn't mean Bitcoin going to 0 or Bitcoin going to 10 or Bitcoin going to 7 or Bitcoin going to 9 or whatever. For me, a bear market or a prolonged bear market is very, very similar to what we are experienced here, for example, in this region, which is basically very, very boring consolidation. Alts dying. No poppings, no 100x's, no to the moons, no bulls speaking and running and yelling and telling you this and that and whatever. Crypto basically feels dead. That's what a bear market for me looks like. And to answer your question, if I do think there still is a prolonged bear market, let me just go to the monthly. I think by the end of this month, it will be clearer. I'm waiting for this stochastic RSI to have a decisive, cross below the 80 level. If we can get this cross below the 80 level, then this just means that there's going to be more months to the downside. And since Bitcoin right now, as of October 4th, 2023, has still not even tapped the all-time highs. So my prediction for a long market is definitely there, and I still believe it will happen. Now, whether it's 8 years or 7 years or 6 years or 4 years or 3 years or what, I cannot tell you. It could be 5. I mean, we've already been in a bear market for 3 years now. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, this topped out in October 2021. Now we're October 2023. So 2 years. 2 years in a bear market right now, right? And usually by 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, we're at the start of a bull run. Hopefully that will be the case, and hopefully we just don't consolidate here forever, because that is a bear market as well. So to answer your question, or before answering your question, my definition of a prolonged bear market is just no all-time highs. So yes, I believe there will be no all-time highs still for a long period of time, whether it be 3, 5, 8, 6, I can't really tell you. It's very, very hard to say. But the only reason that I see this coming is because of the stock markets and because of inflation and because of the economy around the world and because of everything that's happening around us. Everything is pointing to very bad years to come. Like when you look at the stock market, when you look at the DXY, when you even look at gold, by the way, which we'll be talking about in a second, everything is pointing to very, very bad things to come. It's not pointing to a bright future. Oh, look, the future is bright ahead. No. Now, can Bitcoin and crypto do, pull an ace out and do the opposite? I highly, highly doubt it. But, I hope I'm wrong. That's one of the predictions that I really, really hope that I'm wrong about, honestly. Okay, so I'm going to be analyzing just gold here for a sec, because gold is also very, very interesting. All right. So a couple of things for gold. Let me just erase these. And let me just erase that. This right here. Is this my gold chart? I have another one, I think. I think this one. Yeah, I think. Nope. Yeah, so let's take any of these. Let's take this one then. All right. So a couple of things. I'm always a big gold supporter. I love it. Gold is not an investment. Just to clarify this, it is not an investment. Gold is not something that will make you rich. Gold is not something that's going to make you like a millionaire or a crypto millionaire. Gold is just you preserving your capital. All right? Just follow me with this. It's preservation of capital, preservation of your purchasing power. So with that being said, gold is the preservation of your purchasing power. So basically what you're trying to do when you purchase gold is to make that dollar that you have, or what the power that the dollar has, to remain with you. So for example, if a dollar today can buy you a can of Coke, 10 years from now, the amount of gold that you buy that is equivalent to $1 today should buy you that one can of Coke again. So if you go back in time, you go to the 1990s, an ounce of gold could buy you a phone. Today, an ounce of gold can still buy a phone. So you get what I mean. I'm not going to go super deep into details, but that's what basically gold means. It is just a preservation of capital. That's number one. Number two, gold doesn't really fluctuate as much as other assets. And number three, whether you buy gold here or you buy gold here, or gold goes back to, I don't know how much it goes down to $1,000, it will still be better for you to be holding gold than holding fiat. Definitely, no questions asked. Now, let's talk about gold. Let me just flip through the indicator super fast. Monthly is looking very, very bad for gold. All right, that's just number one. Okay, I sold around this area just not too long ago, and we formed the triple top, which is very, very bearish in nature, very, very bad. What we would like gold to do is just experience a fake out similar to this. So double top, fake out. If we don't do that, then at least expect the revisit of the low. So that is a 10% drop for gold. All right. So basically from where we are towards 1620. That's number one. Number two, let me go to the 12-month time frame. I mean, the 12-month is still looking okay, but you have a very bearish divergence on the 12-month time frame for gold. Okay, you can see it very clearly here. As you can see, I'll show you. You have a high, a lower high, and a high and a higher high. So this is a bearish divergence for gold on the 12-month time frame. And this just basically means very bad year for gold to come. I don't want to, sound bipolar, because I love gold. And like I just explained, you preserve your capital and it's better than holding fiat. But like any other asset out there, it has its fluctuations. Unfortunately, what's happening to gold right now is basically what's happening, or what's going to happen, in my personal opinion, to the stock markets, to the crypto markets, to the financial markets, to the bonds market, to the real estate markets. Everything is going down. All right. They call it the 3 times market crash. That's what the economists right now are calling it, right? And unfortunately, that is what I'm seeing as well for gold. Now, as long as these next couple of years don't make you lose this area right here, you should be good. But if you lose that area, I mean, expect a revisit of this. So you can really, really expect $1,000 gold. And if you lose $1,000 gold, you can expect gold to go here. Now we're talking TA. Just remember, gold is not really it's not a stock, it's not a token, it's not crypto, right? We're just using technical analysis to try to see where gold is going to move. If this were Bitcoin or a stock or the S&P 500 or I don't know, something along those lines, I would tell you that this looks very bad. This is a rising wedge structure, which is bearish in nature. This is looking like a double top formation, which is very, very bearish in nature as well. So rising wedge, double top formation, and indicators with bearish divergence all over. This just means down. And hopefully it's not down here. Hopefully it's down here, and hopefully we break the 2K area when we go to 3K. Once you see gold above 2K with a monthly close above 2K, I think it's safe to buy 2K gold if you see a monthly above here, because that just means that 3K gold is coming next. But as long as that happens, this is resistance. Right now, this is our support area. And I think in the next couple of months, you'll probably see gold at 1,600 again. And hopefully we hold it, because if not, most likely in the next coming years, instead of 3K, we'll probably see, $1,000 gold. But this is a very, very hard asset to chart. And technical analysis doesn't really work on it all the time. So I might be wrong on this one, but we'll wait and see. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing in the charts. 12-month bearish divergence, double top formation, rising wedge. All of these are bad things. All of these are pointing to this, or at least to this first. And if you lose this, you go here. All right? So that is it for gold. I will take some alt requests if you guys have ones. If you want to analyze ETH, I have a alt request. A0 from a Discord member, so I'm gonna do it. I think we can use it here. And I have not this one for sure. A0, or is it the 12-month? Oh, this is 12-month. Okay. So I'm gonna do A0 for an altcoin member, from a Discord member, just to see here what we're having. Just popping through the different time frames very quickly. All right, hold up. One more second. I mean, from a macro and from a micro, this is not really looking too good. If you're a holder, this is not looking too good. I think the arrow says it all. I think this is where this is going. Previous supply and demand zone. Only way it invalidates this is up, but I mean, I don't think it happens. You have a huge resistance area here, which you wicked upon, as you can see. You break this resistance area, you could do a nice move to the upside for sure. You could do something along, 36% at least, and that's it. That's all I can see for this. And another token is TAL USDT. Is this one? I think this is it. Yeah, I think this one is it. Let's see here. Let me chart this very quickly. I mean, look, it's looking it's looking bad on a micro perspective. On a macro, I don't have enough data, I think, for this. There's not enough data for this. On a micro perspective, is looking bearish. Obviously, it's not looking bullish. But the good thing is you are support. So, and I think what you have here is an ascending triangle, which is bullish in nature, and this was a fake out, I think. So if we could hold the next, I would say 7 days, at least. No, I would say less than 7 days. If we could hold around, 4 to 5 days above this trend line with no daily closures, I think you could go one more bounce up, at least to this area right here. If not, and you lose it, you could do, I would say, anything between 14% drop to 32% drop. You lose that 16, you lose this 42 area, you probably do 38% drop or 32% drop. If you hold this green trend line for at least, I would say 4 days, I think you could revisit this top trend line easily around 73 and make at least 33% move to the upside. But I think right now I wouldn't really buy. I wouldn't touch this right now. I would wait for a couple of days, see the reaction of the trend line, and then I'll decide whether to buy or not. If you lose the trend line with decisive close, with decisive breakout, like I said, 16% to 32% move to the downside. All right. I'm going to do some altcoin requests, guys, and I'm probably going to be heading off after. Let's see. What's your high time frame silver look? High time frame outlook on silver look like? It looks good to me. Well, usually silver follows gold, but I don't know. Let's see. I've never analyzed silver. I think they call silver the poor man's gold. Let's see. Well, I will tell you one thing, right? A couple of years ago, I was looking at where silver was, and it was at 23, and I'm looking now at where silver is, and it's still around 20. So that's not really a good sign, but I'm gonna check it regardless, right? Let's see here. We'll go to the 12 month as well as gold as well. Well, the one thing that silver has better than gold, in my personal opinion, I think on the monthly it's bearish. I don't think it's bullish at all. But let me just check here. Let me chart first to see what we have. We have your nice supply and demand zone here. I think we have your resistance around this area. Oh, sorry. I think as such. All right. So monthly is bearish for silver. It's not bullish. Weekly, I wouldn't call it super bearish. I think it's bearish also, but I think it's going for the buy zone basically, right? That's what's happening. And it's a drop for a buy zone. Structure here is very bearish. Obviously, this is a crown formation, similar to what BTC did in 2021 before its super drop in June, July. So this is also bearish in nature. Let's see if we can catch the drop here somewhere. Do we have anything chart here? All right. All right, so basically what I'm thinking is for silver, at least for the next couple of months, I think, the case is this. It's going to this region right here. Could be, going for a double bottom low. It's probably nice. Could go to the lower end. Till the indicators finalize their drop, there's no way to tell where it's going to hold or where it's going to stop. But from my personal opinion, based on the indicators, I would say at least, let's see here. I don't want to sound too brutal for this, but I would say at least 4 to 5 months of downside for silver. I don't see it going up from here. You know, the only difference that it has something that is better than gold, basically. Um, and then I think this is your buy region for silver. I think this is where silver holds the line for a good amount of time. And if you want to accumulate silver, that's where you do it, in this area, specifically between $14 and $17. I think that's good. If you lose this area, specifically the $14 area, with a monthly close below it, you can expect silver to go all the way back to the lows. So basically around the 51% drop, which is around a $6 silver. But right now, it's too far ahead to call this. But what I can tell you, though, that the monthly is in a bearish dropping scenario towards probably the previous supply zone and demand zone, which is around here. And this is your area to buy. And the thing that silver has better than gold is that the 12-month time frame is nearing the buy zone area. So this is the buy zone area for silver, basically. So if silver remains bearish, let's say for 2 years, hovering around this area, let's say, okay, because it did, right? It stayed for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years here, between 14 and 17. If silver does that, this is your area to buy, definitely. I would say, at least 2 years from now, that would be the worst case scenario. I think 2 to 3 years of silver stuck in this range. But it's really, really coming close to a breakout, which is your resistance trend line right here. If we can break out from this resistance trend line, which you can see there's multiple attempts, but nothing really happened, you can expect at least this first. So at least a 45% push to the upside, maybe more. Let's say it breaks down from conservatively speaking, from 18, let's say. You can have a 50% pop to the upside. And if it breaks this area with monthly closes, all you need to monitor is monthly closes. So if you get a monthly close at 33, for example, you can expect, another 100% move to the upside and retest the highs once more. Okay, but this is your buy zone right now for silver, definitely. And this is your last stand zone, which is around $14 to $13.5. You lose that, monthly closes again, just to remind you guys, this is where probably you go towards 50% silver. All right. India, Scuba, Explorer, Neil, come on. Come on, T. So I analyzed. I think this is one of my Discord members. Ator, please. Ator. I've never heard of this one before. USDT. Ator protocols. I think it's this one. Oh, I don't like. Oh, okay. There's the. Okay, let's see here. This is there a better chart for this? Can it be this one? Is this better? I think no, it's not better. Oh my god, this chart. I'm assuming it's this one. What about this? What about this one? Yeah, I'm assuming it's this one. There's no other chart. Oh, this is very, very hard to analyze. I have basically no data on this at all. But this, you need, an Elliott wave expert for this, definitely. And it's more than 5 waves already. What can we do here? I can help you with this, but not as much as you'd like, obviously. Because there's no data. You see, there's just waves up. There's no supply and demand zones. There's nothing in the charts. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to keep it simple for you. This is reaching a very, I would say, one more last push before a very strong drop. Stronger than the previous drop, I think. Let's just take some, let's see, did a lot. Let's see here. 50%. Well, the gains are diminishing exponentially for sure. Let's see here. 150, 65, 51. Yeah. Your pushes up are starting to diminish more and more. So a couple of things, right? If you start to see consolidation above this area, so let's say it goes to 0.8, right? Let's just assume it goes to 0.8, and then you start, seeing consolidation, or a few bearish candles similar to this. Then this is a double top formation happening already in front of you, and then it's most likely gonna drop at least 30%, and if it loses the 30%, it will drop another 30%. So basically, if it goes to 0.8, it consolidates, so something along those lines, and then it will probably drop here. If it drops and loses this, it does this, and it reaches this area. Why am I saying this? Why am I, sounding bearish? Because there's a clear bearish divergence happening on it. So it happened here with this and this, and with this high and this high. So you can see here you have a high and a higher high, and then you have a low and a lower, a high and a lower high. So this is called a bearish divergence. So basically it means that the price is going to drop after. So it happened. And now what's happening is the same basically. It's doing another bearish divergence with this and this potential high coming here somewhere. And you can see here the potential high here and the potential lower high here. And you can see another bearish divergence here and potentially forming here. So be very, very careful. If you see something like this on the squeeze indicator and this does this, then move aside because it's going to drop around 30% at least. All right. That's all I can give you for this token. I cannot give you any more because there's no data for it. What else do you think are worth investing in? That's a very good question, actually. Honestly, for me, right now, if you want to go the safest way, I'd just say Bitcoin and ETH, honestly. I think Bitcoin and ETH are the best, especially Bitcoin. It's the best thing you can go for right now. I have two more alts that I really like. One of them is called Chiliz, and the other one is called VeChain. One of them is sports related. The other one is transportation related. Similar to DHL or FedEx. But right now, I wouldn't really invest in any alts. I bought a lot when my favorite alt dropped, and I still haven't bought again, by the way. I still haven't updated my Discord about buying because I'm not gonna buy again. So I bought around this area where we are right now. This is where we bought. I told on Twitter, I think, when I see 50% drop from whatever, I will probably buy. And then that was around this area. We broke this area, and this dropped around 50%. And this is where I bought. And now I'm not touching this. I'm not touching anything. I bought I have a strategy which basically divides my DCA position, dollar cost averaging position, into 33, 33, 33. And I inject them accordingly. I can inject 33 here, or 33 here, or 33 here, or 66 here. It's up to me, basically. I injected the first 33 already. And the remaining 66 I'm not touching right now. Till end of year, at least, to see what's going to happen with the markets. Because if this doesn't hold, you could see another 50 to 60% drop to the downside. And that's where probably I'll inject 66, lowering my dollar cost average entry, and then hopefully just waiting the long bear market to be over and then capitalizing when the bull run starts. That's basically how things are. All right, guys. Let's see. But my doubts. Let's see Solana. Actually, I like Solana. I had a funny story about Solana back in 2021. When we were here, everybody was buying here, including some of our Discord members as well. And I had one of our admins and myself included, laughing and saying, be careful, this is gonna super drop, probably go to 40. And my Discord admin had a 20, I think, dollar region target, and now we're there. So expect the unexpected in crypto. Solana. All right. Let's see here. I mean, you have a daily retracement for sure. You know, you tapped out at resistance. You can see my resistance trend line there. So there is a daily retracement for it, definitely. Most likely is going to go searching for previous supply and demand zones, definitely. So probably this is going towards this area, probably going to hold somewhere here, most likely, forming some type of a higher low. That's the best case scenario I see. Another bullish thing I see for Solana right now is this is looking like an ascending triangle as well. But this is heavy area of resistance right now. This area here between $30 and $27. If we could break this, I think I would dare say like a weekly close. If we get a weekly close at 31, I think you can go to this second green zone that I have, which is basically another 52% push to the upside. Is this possible for Solana? Well, to just be very clear, this is still bullish on the weekly. It's not bearish yet, so there's still hope. But if the weekly indicators max out and the bullishness is over and Solana is still here, you need to move aside because it's probably going to drop once more, at least 30 to 40% drop to the downside from where it is. So if it's here, it will probably drop here. If it's here, it will probably drop 30. If it's here, it will probably drop 20, and so on and so forth. All right. But for now, the weekly indicators are good. So October and November, guys, these are the 2 months that you really need to be looking at. So beginning of October till end of November. That's where, and obviously as we move forward, I'll keep updating. But these are the bullish months that you can expect to make profit from crypto and altcoins and Bitcoin and so on and so forth. If from now to then, many of your altcoins, including Bitcoin and Ethereum, stay hovered in a single position, then my personal opinion and my advice, which you can or cannot take as advice, is up to you, is move aside. Because December, January usually are very bad months for cryptos and everything in general. Let's see, what else do we have here? Thanks, Maze. Very welcome, Lisa. Your opinion on PYR. Okay, I think I'm gonna do PYR, and that's my last token for today. If there's any tokens for our Discord members, I'll check them as well. Ooh. This token reminds me so much of a Link, of Chainlink. Chainlink is doing something very similar, but I don't know if I have more data for this. I don't think I have. Yeah, I think that's the best data I can get for this. Let's see here. Okay, listen, as long as you're holding this 2734 region, you're good. You don't have to worry a lot. The only problem that I see from me structurally is this. This is what I see. The only problem. If it can hold throughout these two, on the daily right now, let's do daily first and go to different time frames, right? On the daily, it's on a retracement. On the 3-day time frame, let's call it a buying retracement, okay? On the daily, on the 3-day time frame, and the weekly, it's on a buying retracement. So if from now to, let's say, it can hold for at least, a couple of weeks, this area, because it's going for this. It's going for this yellow line for sure. If it can hold it and do something similar to this, then it will probably revisit again once more the green trend line. And there's no way this does anything unless you have a clear break of the trend line. If it doesn't break the trend line, it will keep doing this till it finally decides to break either from the bottom or from the top. But these are bearish descending triangles. These are not bullish in nature. They're bearish, right? And again, even though everybody sees it and most likely it does the opposite or whatever, my personal opinion is basically to wait for the confirmation of breakout and then you can decide what to do, right? So if it does this, this is where you get out. And if it does this, this is where you get in, right? If you want to buy here, I'm not against buying because it is support. I definitely recommend it. But again, please put a stop loss because if this plummets, it will plummet. It will, I will tell you how much it will do probably if it drops. It's not gonna go to zero, but I would say at least 50%. All right, just conservatively speaking, without trying to bullshit anyone. So around 50% drop. So just put your stop loss there. Be ready, and you're good to go. Can you please check TRB link and dot? Sure. We'll do TRB link and dot. I'm gonna go link first. All right, let me just erase these. Go weekly, 3-day, daily. All right. So unfortunately, here's the thing with Link. Link has been ranging in this for quite some time right now. Similar to PYR, right? The difference right now that is slightly different than before is that the EMAs are starting to curve up, right? But that doesn't change anything for Link. Meaning, you need to hold these EMAs on the weekly time frame. They need to cross bullish. So again, the thing is going to be in October, November. If you hold these during October, November as support, and then they cross bullish, the indicators on Link are still saying that you should go up from here. All right. But as you are seeing, there's a lot of resistance around this region right here, which is the $8 region, $8.5 region. And there's no clear break. What we need for Link is to basically break stop 1 to go to stop 2. All right. Now, currently, if we do hold the EMAs and we remain bullish above them on the weekly time frame, most likely you're probably going to head towards stop 1 again. Okay. But that's nothing. You need to break stop 1 to be able to go to stop 2. If you don't break stop 1, again, you're probably going to range again and go back towards the low once more. As you can see, it has been doing this for quite some time right now. The only difference right now than before is that the EMAs are curving up for a bullish cross, which usually means upside. But this upside could just mean to this area and then a drop another to this area again, and just consolidation here forever till there's a breakout. I would preferably, I prefer monthly closes, I think, for Link. So I think, monthly close around stop 1 is very, very bullish sign, which I doubt, by the way, will happen. But monthly close at stop 1 will be very bullish. Monthly close sub this yellow trend line will be very, very bearish, and you can expect a retest of the lows here, which is around, 50% drop as well, right? You have EMAs here, which are resistance EMAs. You have a resistance area, which is natural. So it's going to be very, very hard to pass through this $9 mark, all right? My expectations, though, I think it's probably going to go for 9 after holding this daily pullback or this weekly retest. But obviously, Bitcoin is boss, and Bitcoin will also, have influence on the price action of Link. But obviously, if Bitcoin dumps, most likely Link will not hold the EMAs and probably dump lower. And then we have DOT after this. Let's see here. Oh, DOT. Let's check indicators first. All right. So a couple of things for DOT. Right now, it's on a daily retracement. That's number 1. Let's check first for divergences. That's very good to look at first. We need to know if there's anything happening that is going to help DOT. No, it's not. There's no divergences. Just an exaggerated divergence here, nothing. All right. So let's keep it simple for DOT here. It's lost resistance, obviously. It got rejected as well, obviously. Daily is still bearish. I think so as well. The daily indicators are signaling still for downside. There is no, well, there might be a push to the upside soon, but it's not like a push to the moon, right? It is currently around 5%, I would say, 5 to 10% from its lows. I think that's probably what's going to happen for it for the next couple of days. Probably 5 to 10% drop. And I think that this is looking like a fake out for me. It's not looking like a drop to zero. It's looking more of a fake out than anything else. Probably gonna drop 5 more percent, rally here. Keep eyes out for double bottom formations, bullish structures, so on and so forth. And I think after that drop is finalized, probably gonna move once more towards the EMAs here. So basically 3.7, then after that around 5. All right. Now at 5, you have a very, very nice resistance trend line right here. As you can see right there, around, I would say around 5. If you break it, you hold it as support, which most likely is going to be the case, by the way. Probably going to head once more here. General macro outlook for this, there's still no bullish structure, like to the moon type of structure at all. The only way to the moon type of structures form is basically if we cross the EMAs. But again, the nice thing about all of the altcoins right now, on the weekly at least, is that these EMAs are coming very, very close to start to curve like this. And once they start to curve, if price keeps holding, then you expect to start to bounce on them and hold them as support, and you start moving them, start moving up basically. All right. But for now, I think for this is just this. That's what I'm expecting for it, at least. All right. And that is it for DOT. All right, guys. So that is it for today's live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot to the channel if you do. Follow me on Twitter. Link in the description below. I hope you enjoy your weeks. I will catch you again next time. And don't worry about crypto, and don't worry about the markets out there. Just prepare yourselves accordingly for the best case scenario and for the worst case scenario. So again, thank you again, guys, for being here, and I'll see you again next time. Bye bye.